Thanks for joining me today. You're wondering, what do you do in a public speaking class? Well, I'm excited to tell you about it because there's all kinds of cool things that happen in a public speaking class. And whether you're a kid or an adult, whether you're a teacher or an executive, public speaking classes are really helpful. In fact, I'm a Hall of Fame speaker and I've taken plenty of classes, and I recommend you to do the same. And I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why you want to do them, as well as how it's going to help you in your career and your life, overall in leadership. Let's dive in. Let's talk first about why it matters to go into a public speaking class and what you're going to do there. If you're a student, it'll help you with communication. As you probably know, if you look around at your peers, a lot of students and kids don't look up from their phones. They're just kind of wandering off in their own little world, or they have their AirPods in their ears. I would recommend that if you're going to jump into this world of being a speaker and jumping into a class, well then, hey, it's time to say to yourself, I commit to being a communicator. If you're an adult and a leader, an executive, a teacher, you're going to jump into this class in a way that's going to be very difficult probably with your schedule. And so if you're going to go for it, then go all in. Don't just go to a class or two and say, oh, that was enough for me. I'd recommend that you truly say to yourself, I'm going to commit to this class every single week, or whatever the amount of time it is. Perhaps it's online, maybe it's in person. We'll talk more about those, but it's very important to commit to it fully, because it's going to change the way that you communicate with your peers, your leadership opportunities, as well as your career advancement. And not only career advancement, I'd also say personal growth. That's one of the best parts about public speaking, I would say, is that if you're going to be a speaker, you need to live your message. And a lot of people don't think that that's necessarily a part of it, but absolutely it is. People can tell when you get on stage whether you live what you're preaching or you're just talking. And so personal growth is a major part of this. And yeah, it'll help you with your career, but we want our personal growth to be accelerated as well. So let's first talk about going into this class and understanding the basics. Because once you show up at a class like this, you're going to be like, oh man, I don't know if this is my place or this is the right place for me. The first thing they usually would do is an icebreaker game. Icebreaker would usually just be, say your name, say something about yourself, or even something silly like, what's your favorite cereal? Or tell us a memory where you shouldn't have done something and you made a huge mistake. I mean, there's all kinds of icebreakers that will be used. When I do coaching with my partner Cheryl Knowlton, and she's one of the best there is in the whole world, Cheryl likes to do something that I don't like it personally, but she insists. And the first time she did this, I thought, this is not going to work, but it absolutely did. So now I just listen to her because she's smarter than me at this stuff. So she plays this game where she has everybody stand up and they have to do kind of like a charades type action in order for the person that's sitting across from them to guess what they're trying to do. This is a really interesting experience because these are all strangers to people, even though this is a public speaking class. And so just by getting everyone out of their own heads and into this place of expression and sharing, it really makes for a fun engagement experience. And I'll tell you, there's nobody better than Cheryl to run a class like that. Then you'll start to cover the fundamentals of public speaking, and a lot of that really would be an overview of what speaking is, and that usually starts with, well, who's your audience? Who are you speaking to? What's the reason for giving the talk? And so when you give that overview, the next thing you know, you're going to be a part of saying to yourself, oh wow, I think I understand why I'm in this class and what I need to do in order to succeed here. It'll also give you a chance to realize that there's a speech structure, that there's a method to this madness, which is awesome. There's an opening, a middle, and a closing to every single speech. And then when you start to think about how can I address a certain audience, depending on who it is, maybe if you're a teacher, you have students. If you're a leader, you have your team. Maybe you're somebody on the team who gets to speak in front of the whole convention or conference, and this is a very exciting and yet intimidating experience, obviously. So getting that outline of what a speech looks like and how you can successfully deliver it, that's a really important piece. In a class like this, they would also do interactive exercises, and not just like the game that I told you about before, but rather these interactive exercises are really cool. They might give you something impromptu to have to speak on, just like you would do if you were in a school class like my son recently had to do. He's a part of what's called DECA, and they give them a subject that they don't know anything about, and they have to like present it to a bunch of people and judges. And so this is a very similar thing that you would do in a class like this. They would give you a subject, you have to talk about it, you have to give the pros and the cons, you have to make an argument, maybe tell a story. This is a great interactive exercise. What's cool about this impromptu thinking exercise is that it actually gives you a way to think on your feet so that you can give a speech in any setting at any time, and it really makes it so that your confidence is accelerated quite quickly. Another thing is to do some role playing. So they would probably have you get into a situation where you're selling something, or you're trying to convince them of one technique or another. And so with the role play, that's always a cool thing because it engages active listening, and you get to have the opportunity to talk to somebody, meet somebody new, hear their way of saying it, and really that's a really helpful way to get to a place of being better as a speaker quickly. In a public speaking class, they're going to give you a lot of practical techniques. When it comes to practical techniques, we're talking things like body language, like being able to move your body and use your voice and use your eyes, and all the different scenarios that come with public speaking. We don't want to just go to a class where they teach you to stand and give a monologue and it's some kind of boring thing. You want to have vocal variety. You want to use your face and your eyes and your body and use everything that you have in order to make an effective presentation. Also give you techniques in order to get ready to take the stage, such as breathing techniques to calm your nerves, whether it's jumping up and down or really coming to grounding yourself before you give your speech. And so these are very helpful for really everyday situations as well. You'll also have the chance to receive feedback, and these are feedback sessions from your peers. While you're up there giving a speech, obviously you're probably a little bit nervous, and that's okay. Everybody in the room is nervous too. In fact, everybody's grateful you're up there so they don't have to be. But what's fun about it is they know that they're going next, and so yeah, they're up. Feedback is cool because amongst your peers, they can actually tell you, hey, this is really helpful, or this worked great. And what's fun about this process is that it's a place to play. It's a good time to fail in front of those people. You don't want to necessarily fail on a huge stage if you're getting paid to speak or it's a real important speech you need to give. That's why taking a class is so great. It gives you a chance to get some feedback in real time from people that really see something in you. If you're still trying to figure out, well, where do I even go for a class like this? I could just tell you it's easy. If you just Google public speaking classes and in my area, something like that, it'll pop up probably a lot of opportunities for you to go find something to do. There are places specific to this though. There's something called Toastmasters. And Toastmasters has little chapters in every single city across America and around the world. I mean, Toastmasters is awesome. This is a place to go, and everybody gets a role within the organization for the day, and everybody gets to practice some of their speaking. Now, you may have also heard of the National Speakers Association. Just be aware the National Speakers Association is more based around your business, about how to become a speaker full-time and how to make money from it. So if that's something you want, that's great. But in terms of classes that we're talking about on this video, Toastmasters is a great place. In fact, before I came on video for this, I Googled public speaking classes in my area. Here's what came up. What came up was Speak Up Speakers Studio. Yeah, and then I realized, oh, that's my friend Bobby Glenn James. Yeah, I forgot that he does this, and he does a class every single week for people to come in my area. And what's funny is that's a place where I even have my office. And so even though I teach public speaking, I sometimes will forget that there is a class even right under my nose is a great opportunity. It's a great class. So going and taking that, but Googling it, and you might say, oh, I know that person, or I've been there before. So check it out. And you might find a surprise. Maybe your friend runs a class like my friend Bobby does his, and it's an awesome one, by the way. So here's some advanced strategies as going to a class that will be really helpful for you. First of all, you'll have strategies in terms of the best way to put your speech together, whether to start with a story or a quote or a question. Then you can also start bringing in things like PowerPoint slides, imagery, the different technicalities, and maybe that's a little bit of high-level stuff, but at this point you want to just become really good at storytelling to getting to the point of knowing how to engage an audience. But then you get into that technical stuff, which is cool. because then you're adding in slides, maybe music, some video, maybe some interaction with the crowd. There's lots of different techniques you can use. Really, there's a lot of real-world application to taking a public speaking class, and here's why. The better you get at speaking, the better you get at communicating, the more opportunities you're going to have as a leader, as somebody in business. And whenever you go to a networking event, any conference you attend, because you've taken a public speaking class, you know that you can confidently either stand up in front of everyone and give a presentation, or you can approach someone in a networking event. Unfortunately, a lot of the world is getting to the place where we're looking down at our phones or we have our AirPods in all the time. I would encourage highly that you consider for yourself to be a little bit different from the norm and to say, because I'm taking a public speaking class, I'm going to be the communicator, the one who reaches out, the one who connects with others in every single situation. Here are some quick tips I recommend you consider using. I'm excited to blast through these with you. Here we go. First, practice impromptu speaking daily. Whether you jump into a speaking class or not, you can practice speaking any old time. You could jump online, you could ask someone to speak in a class where you're giving a presentation, even at work, you can give that. That would be great. I'd say to record and review everything you speak on, because this will give you the chance to go back and say, oh, I should do that again, or I should never do it that way again. Number 3, I'd say to focus on your body movements and your body language. You see, what your body does matters when you're on stage. A lot of people use their hands way too interactively perhaps, or too much, and so maybe you could do a little bit less. Or if you don't use them at all and you just stand like this all the time, you could use them a little bit more. Recording yourself again is important, but seeing your body language as well. I'd recommend you record it and then listen back, and then also watch it back without listening and having no audio. That's an interesting thing, to watch your body language that way. Number 4 is to incorporate storytelling into your presentations. Always, always, always use stories. That's the best way to teach. Number 5 is seek and apply feedback from your peers. Listen to the right people. Obviously, if you're in a class with all newbies and we're all trying it out ourselves, then it's okay to listen to them, but after a while, you're going to want to make sure to listen to the right people. I'd say number 6 is to use your visual aids effectively and sparingly. Don't have too many slides. Unfortunately, too many people do that often. And on this channel, in fact, I've made a couple of videos about how many slides you ought to have in a presentation, so go find that. Number 7 is to engage your audience with eye contact and making sure that you're looking at them. And unfortunately, a lot of speakers I've seen, especially on Zoom, this is a weird thing. In a meeting, I see a lot of people looking down. And I don't know if they're reading their notes or what, but I think they're just not looking at the camera. It's important to look into the camera and talk to the person. Number 8, practice deep breathing and controlling your nerves. Before you get on that stage, make sure that you're ready to go. And I would say that you need to reflect on your speeches and your presentations. Think back about what you said and how important it is for the audience, but also for yourself. It's a message that you want to share, so you've worked hard to present it. And I'm glad that you've taken a class in order to make sure that you're better at this type of thing. So if you've Googled, public speaking class in my area, and you haven't quite found a community that you like, and maybe you've already been to Toastmasters, or you're not quite sure about NSA, the National Speakers Association, I want to share with you something that's pretty exciting, because this is a community that we've created, my partner Cheryl and I, and it's called Liftoff Lab. If you want to lift off into becoming a better speaker, we have an opportunity for you to do so. At liftofflab.com, yes, that means like lifting off in an airplane. Liftofflab.com is a community of people that are looking to become better speakers. There's all kinds of different levels, whether it's the beginner speaker or the Hall of Famer like myself. Everybody's looking to improve. It's a great place to work to succeed. So go check out liftofflab.com, and I hope to see you in the community. Thanks for joining me here today.